In Boot Hill there are over 400 graves. It takes the space of 7 acres. There is an elaborate gate, but the path keeps to no main route, for it tangles like branches of a tree among the gravestones. 300 of the dead in Boot Hill died violently, 200 by guns, over 50 by knives. Some were pushed under trains, a popular and overlooked form of murder in the West. Some from brain hemorrhages resulting from bar fights, at least 10 killed in barbed wire. In Boot Hill there are only 2 graves that belong to women, and they are the only known suicides in that graveyard. The others I know did not see the wounds appearing in the sky, in the air. Sometimes a normal forehead in front of me leaked brain gases. Once a nose clogged right before me, a lock of skin formed over the nostrils, and the shocked face had to start breathing through mouth. But then the mustache bound itself in the lower teeth, and he began to gasp loud, the ha, ha, going strong, churned onto the floor, collapsed out, seeming in the end to be breathing out of his eye, tiny needle jets of air reaching into the throat. I told no one. If Angela D. had been with me then, not even her, not Sally, John, Charlie, or Pat. In the end, the only thing that never changed, never became deformed, were animals. Thinking, moving across the world on horses, bodies split at the edge of their necks, neck sweat eating at my jeans, moving across the world on horses. So if I had a newsman's brain, I'd say, well, some morals are physical, must be clear and open, like diagram of watch or star. One must eliminate much. That is, one turns when the bullet leaves you. Walk off, see none of the thrashing, the very eyes welling up like bad drains. Believing then the moral of newspapers are gun, where bodies are mindless as paper flowers you don't feed or give to drink. That is why I can watch the stomach of clocks shift their wheels and pins into each other and emerge living for hours. When I caught Charlie Beaudry dying, tossed 3 feet by bang bullets, giggling at me, face tossed in a gaggle, he pissing into his trouser legs in pain, face changing like fast sunshine. Oh my God, Billy, I'm pissing. Watch your hands, while the eyes grew all over his body. Jesus, I never knew that, did you? The nerve shot out, the liver running around there like a headless hen jerking brown all over the yard. I've seen that too at my aunt's. Never eaten hen since then. Blurred, a waist-high river, foam against the horse, riding naked, clothes and boots and pistol in the air, crossed a crooked river, loving in my head, ambled dry on stubble, shot a crooked bird, held it in my fingers. The eyes were small and far, and yelled out like a trumpet, destroyed it of its fear. After shooting Gregory, this is what happened. I'd shot him well and careful, made it explode under his heart so it wouldn't last long, and was about to walk away when this chicken paddles out to him, and as he was falling, hops on his neck, digs the beak into his throat, straightens legs, and heaves a red and blue vein out. Meanwhile he fell, and the chicken walked away, still tugging at the vein till it was 12 yards long, as if it held that body like a kite. Gregory's last words being, "Get away from me, you stupid chicken." Tilts back to fall, black hair swiveling off her, shattering the pillow. "Billy," she says, the tall, gawky body, spitting electric off the sheets to my arm, leans her whole body out so breasts are thinner, stomach is a hollow where the bright bush jumps. This is the first time. Bite into her side, leave a string of teeth marks. She hooks in too and covers me, my hand locked, her body nearly breaking off my fingers, pivoting like machines in final speed. Later my hands cracked in love juice, fingers paralyzed by it, arthritic. These beautiful fingers I couldn't move, faster than a crippled witch now. The barn I stayed in for a week then was at the edge of a farm and had been deserted, it seemed, for several years, though built of stone and good wood. The cold, dark gray of the place made my eyes become used to soft light, and I burned out my fever there. It was 20 yards long, about 10 yards wide. Above me was another similar-sized room, but the floors were unsafe for me to walk on. However, I heard birds and the odd animals scrape their feet, the rotten wood magnifying the sound so they entered my dreams and nightmares. But it was the color and light of the place that made me stay there, not my fever. It became a calm week. It was the color and the light. The color a gray with remnants of brown, for instance those rust-brown pipes and metal objects that before had held bridles or pails that slid to machine uses, the 30 or so gray cans in one corner of the room, their ellipses from where I sat setting up patterns in the dark. When I had arrived, I opened 2 windows and a door, and the sun poured blocks and angles in, lighting up the floor's skin of feathers and dust and old grain. The windows looked out onto fields and plants grew at the door, me killing them gradually with my urine. Wind came in wet and brought in birds who flew to the other end of the room to get their aim to fly out again. An old tap hung from the roof, the same color as the walls, so once I knocked myself out on it. For that week then I made a bed of the table there and lay out my fever, whatever it was. I began to block my mind of all thought, just sensed the room and learnt what my body could do, what it could survive, what colors it liked best, what songs I sang best. There were animals who did not move out and accepted me as a larger breed. I ate the old grain with them, drank from a constant puddle about 20 yards away from the barn. I saw no human and heard no human voice. Learned to squat the best way when shitting, used leaves for wiping, never ate flesh or touched another animal's flesh, never entered his boundary. We were all aware and allowed each other. The fly who sat on my arm after his inquiry just went away, ate his disease and kept it in him. When I walked, I avoided the cobwebs who had places to grow to, who had stories to finish. The flies caught in those acrobat nets were the only murder I saw. And in the barn next to us, there was another granary, separated by just a thick wood door. In it, 100 or so rats, thick rats, eating and eating the floor, deep pile of grain, abandoned now and fermenting, so that at the end of my week, after a heavy rainstorm burst the power in those seeds and brought drunkenness into the minds of those rats, they abandoned the sanity of eating the food before them and turned on each other, and grotesque and awkwardly because of their size they went for each other's eyes and ribs, so the yellow stomachs slid out and they came through that door and killed a chipmunk, about 10 of them onto that one striped thing, and the 10 eating each other before they realized the chipmunk was long gone. So that I, sitting on the open window with its thick sill where they couldn't reach me, filled my gun and fired again and again into their slow wheel across the room at each boom, and reloaded and fired again and again till I went through the whole bag of bullet supplies, the noise breaking out the seal of silence in my ears, the smoke sucked out of the window as it emerged from my fist, and the long 20-yard space between me and then empty, but for the floating bullet, lonely as an emissary across and between the wooden posts that never returned. So the rats continued to wheel and stop in the silences and eat each other, some even the bullet, till my hand was black and the gun was hot, and no other animal of any kind remained in that room but for the boy in the blue shirt sitting there, coughing at the dust, rubbing the sweat of his upper lip with his left forearm.